Hey, it's Em of Two Girls Shooting the Shit with Em and Mo. Thank you for tuning in to this episode where we talk about generational trauma as it applies to women. In this episode, we break down a TED Talk where Tracee Ellis Ross discusses a story that we all probably can relate to. We also touch on feminism and the Salem witch trials, and we also share experiences and behaviors that Mo and I know of that most women have in common across age and race spectrums. As always, join us on Instagram Live Tuesday nights, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, where we break down that week's episode and shoot the shit a little bit. Hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you Tuesday. Something along the lines, just from history, tells a little girl to be careful, tells a teenage girl, watch out when you're walking, and no one has to explicitly say anything to you. It's not like we get a talk. Sometimes you do, maybe you do, but there is a feeling, almost predator prey like, that lets you know in your DNA, I have to protect myself in this situation. Hey Mo, how are you today?
All right, how you doing?
Okay. Got some energy from I don't know.
Good.
Yes.
Nice. I got put some soy milk in my put some soy milk in my coffee and it's all cold. You know, you were saying you don't like I don't mind lukewarm, but not when the first sip when it's supposed to be hot.
Yeah, it gotta be hot. See, I always have to put my milk or my cream or whatever I'm doing in the microwave and heat it up first. And then I put my coffee into it. Because otherwise, if it comes from the fridge, it just cools down your coffee and you're stuck already at warm. Yeah, already at warm. So you got to chug it. I like it. I want to burn my throat. You know, that's how I want my coffee. I want it hot.
Damn. Shoot. Anyway, today we talking about what generational curses.
Yeah, as it pertains. Well, I feel like we could do multiple episodes, but I think this one, as it pertains to women, I think you hear a lot about generational trauma and a lot of stuff with regard to race, right? And a lot of people talking about therapy and doing the work to undo whatever their parents had done. But I think it applies to women as well. Yeah.
I know. We talked about this in the codependency episode or something, how we were saying how people pleasing behaviors and women have to,
toxic femininity.
And even I was chatting with someone who said women often lose themselves in relationships, and it's not just romantic relationships, it's friendships, it's relationships with raising children and all these things. And it's like, how is it determined that women are the one to just say, all right, I don't want to, I'm going to take it for the team. I'm going to take it for the team.
Take it for the team. Who's the team though?
Humanity.
Yeah. They kind of shrink themselves to uplift others. I think that's a role of women. That sucks. Raising up kids, raising up your man, promoting that.
Everybody else. And if you raise up yourself, then, you cocky or you full of yourself.
Right. Or you don't know your place. You're undesirable because you're not staying in your role.
This kind of makes me more interested in learning about the Salem witch trials. Was it just
I don't know a lot about it. Yeah, probably just outspoken women, like current day women. And they over here drowning them and burning them and stuff.
Right.
Ooh, terrible.
For fun.
But that's, if you want to talk about trauma, I wonder what if they had descendants, who knows? They may, But I think all of this started with a TED Talk. Tracee Ellis Ross did a TED Talk talking about a 60-year-old actress friend of hers that was at the post office and got physically moved out of the way because a man needed to get something that she was in the way of, and how
I was jealous and low key.
Like, please touch me. And no, but how it evoked a fury in her. And she said she wasn't annoyed. She wasn't frustrated. She was just in anger or rage. This man moved me. He didn't assault me. He didn't hurt me. He just dismissed
violating boundaries. Yeah. Humanity.
And it's, I've spoken about it before, of just the way men, especially cishet white men, move through the world is as if it's their world and you are in the way.
Yes.
And to be on the receiving end of that, I think as a woman, well, I mean, race aside, because that's a whole other can of some stuff. But as a woman, a Black woman, a white woman, any woman, to be shown that by someone who's probably physically larger than you, get out of my way. I will physically move you out of my way. You are taking up my space.
When all you had to do was say, excuse me.
Yeah. But you're not worthy of that. Why should I even have to kind of show deference or some kind of basic manners to say, excuse me, when I could just move you? And it probably didn't even dawn on them. Just get out of my way. Yes, move. Just like you would move an inanimate object. Just move. Move it out of the way.
No home training.
But that rage, I was tossing back ideas with you this morning when my janky phone wasn't working, but just the idea that the generational part, that I guess it's called transgenerational trauma, is something along the lines, I mean, just from history, tells a little girl to be careful, tells a teenage girl, watch out when you're walking, and no one has to explicitly say anything to you. It's not like we get a talk. Sometimes you do, maybe you do, but there is a feeling almost predator prey like that lets you know in your DNA, I have to protect myself in this situation. I have to cross the street, get away from these men. Yeah.
Even at home, like I was told I couldn't wear, I used to walk around with nightgowns all the time.
Yeah. Ooh, I miss nightgown days.
Then they became a point where my mom was like, you can't be walking around with nightgowns.
Wear shorts
like
or
that.
Pants.
And I'm just like, what the, like, I didn't understand it. And I had to like guess and figure it out. Like it was some sexual like thing. Like, what is it? It's like everybody gonna get turned on seeing some kid bouncing around.
Some 9-year-old.
Right? Like it didn't make sense. But
see, you want to hear the messed up part is I tell my daughter that at a certain point, she had to start wearing sweatpants or shorts. She always wears shorts under a dress. I guess always was politeness. I was always told if you're going to wear a dress, you wear shorts and you cross your legs at the ankle, you keep your legs together. And I always thought of it as being ladylike, but never thought of it as you don't want to tempt them nasty men, or you don't want to, like, I never really thought about why I'm instructing her to do that. It's how I was instructed. Like, this is just how you carry yourself. And I wonder what that is. And that, I mean, that's a common thing. Women keep your knees together in a dress, blah, 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 whatever.
Well, that makes sense. You don't want your cootie out.
But why? Who's looking at your cootie?
Everybody.
But if you're 5, you know,
that's
like,
true. Well, that's sick. That's the sick. That's why we have laws, though, and it's kind of scary. It's like, are people programmed? Like, are we just animals where people are programmed? Because it was not long ago. I know I have family members who were married like at 14, 15.
Wow.
It wasn't long ago where you could do that. So.
And biologically, that's probably when you're supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, before we started living this long. Yeah.
Yeah. You can have kids and stuff. So your body is set up. I mean, it's confusing because your body is set up for you to procreate.
Your brain is not. Your body
brain is definitely
right.
Not.
But I wonder that as a mother, is this a trauma response? I mean, because I think you'll be hard pressed. I don't have a statistic to find a woman out there who hasn't experienced some sort of sexual assault or aggression or something. So I wonder if it's my personal experiences that I've had, or my mother's mothers, or whatever, that is causing me to be so protective of I'm protective of all my children, but of my daughter in the way that she presents herself to the world. And I hate that because I don't want to stifle her from being a young woman. She's not even there. She's 9. Okay. She's a girl, but like to becoming an emerging individual and to stifle that because of whatever this transgenerational trauma is about protecting your femininity, protecting your body and your personhood. I wonder where that's coming from in me, if it's just how I was trained up, or if it's something.
Because we live in an animalistic, maybe it's both.
I mean, because this woman, Tracy Ellis Ross, is saying, this woman was furious. It was an anger. And I wonder where that comes from. I mean, is it just years on years and generations on generations of just, I'm tired of this bullshit? Like, what? You know?
Yeah, or keeping yourself silent so long and letting people lead, like microaggressions. So maybe somebody didn't physically pick up your whole body and move you, but they didn't give you space on the sidewalk. They cut in front of you in line. They has closed the door in your face. All of these little
Oh,
things
I hate
add
that.
up. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like all these things add up, and she might have just popped off at that point.
But it's also the fact that you historically have not been able to pop off.
Mm-hmm.
You've had to choke it down, smile, and politely say, "Oh, excuse me," as if you were in the way. Excuse
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Did you need
We'd
something
always have
there?
to. Yep.
That different, oh, you get that. Let me get out of your way. Pardon me.
Yeah.
And I wonder at what point that's like harmful to have to keep doing that, keep shrinking yourself down, keep placing somebody else's needs or desires above your own. Oh, you need this box over here, and I must have been in the way. I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm. And I see it a lot with Black women. So I feel bad because it's like, as much as I want to help people, I kind of step back. Like I'll see somebody struggling with something, and part of me wants to help, but I'm like, oh, it's always the Black woman helping. Like I remember
it
one
is
time,
though. It really is.
one time I was on the plane and this lady was getting, it wasn't even an older lady. She's probably my age or like a little older. And she was trying to get something out of the thing. And men were standing around. Nobody helped her. And it's like, I could feel it. Like, I was like, no, don't do it. And another Black lady came and helped. And I'm just like, we stay helping everybody.
So helpful.
Like, damn,
but the thing is, it's the answer to stop. I mean, we talked about this with regard to voting.
Yeah.
And it's just like, do we stop doing the work? Do we stop being
kind people,
helpful, good people, or
good people? Yeah.
But I mean, this is where the race part ties into it, because I feel like people stay trying to help a white woman.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's or an elderly woman. Usually, if you're older, that gives you some kind of, we have to protect you and take care. Mm-hmm. Something comes up in men that, oh, we have to take care of you and protect you.
Yeah.
But if you fall outside of that class of women that needs protection,
you're not worthy.
You don't get any help.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, you got a target on you. So that's an interesting, like the intersectionality of it. But just as women, though, there's a lot, I think, because we were talking, women are more likely than men. I think this is just like an agreed upon thing too. I don't have the statistics in front of me. I read it this morning. More likely than men to experience sexual assault. I think that is a type of assault or violation that puts women in a very unique position. I know it happens to men and to boys as well, but I think that it disproportionately happens to women.
Yes. Even the way the body is set up.
Yeah. Like the actual physical parts of it, but also just the strength dynamics and the ability to protect yourself. So I think that there's a lot of PTSD in women that men don't experience. And I read something too. There was an article about patriarchy. What is it called? PSD. So it's patriarchy stress disorder. And it's something that can be experienced by men and women. But it's disproportionately, among women. It's this professor, and they talk about just the structure, the way it's set up, and how it does cause a certain amount of stress, where women are outpacing men to get college degrees. They are highly educated, just all the advancements and all the achievements. Yet when it comes to decision making, power, positions of power, politics, etc., nobody wants to hear their voices. And so for women, I mean, that is rage inducing, I feel like. What did they say? Women are the neck. Oh, control the head. Yes. Yeah. Where is that from? That's from a movie or something. Yeah. Men are the head. Men are the head of the household, but the women are the neck.
House of Cards, was it?
Any which way. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Oh, that was a good show till it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, I wonder if there's, because I feel like men listen to our podcast more than women do, how it would feel to be like, I have all these qualifications. I am the perfect person for this job, but nobody will give it to me. Like, I wonder if. Well,
they're starting to feel that because that's the thing I think with a lot of different groups. Yeah, a lot of different groups don't understand. Opening the door, opening the playing field isn't taking away from you. It's opening you up to competition. So you need to step up your game, but it isn't taking away from you. And I think more people see it like, oh, this is taking away from me because you had a monopoly on everything. Exactly. Now it's people are getting opportunity to compete. And now you're like, oh, poor me. It's like, well, dang, like the people didn't even have an opportunity.
What's that quote? I think it was RBG who said, to people who have never felt inequality or who have benefited from inequality, equality feels like oppression. It feels like I'm being oppressed. when all it is lifting up the oppression of the people that, you know, that you've been standing on for this long. And it's almost, I want to laugh at those people because it's like, really, little, like, you crying about this? You have no idea about this, what the rest of the world has to experience. You just get things. Literally, men, you just get things. White men, you get things. White women, you get things. But men, particularly in the context of this episode, you get things, or you don't have to get things. Or you don't have to deal with things.
Yeah.
Right. So now that you
get that credit, that free credit.
So now that you have to actually put forth a little more effort, maybe, or you see other people, you know, actually being acknowledged for their skill set, their education, etc. It feels like somebody's hurting. Who hurt you? Like, who's hurting you?
The nepotism, the cronyism, and all these things, and everybody else has to jump through hoops.
That generational wealth that people don't want to acknowledge. Where do you think that money came from? So,
reparations. Ain't that some shit? I said, ain't that some shit? Oh, ain't that some shit? Ain't that some shit? Goddamn. I think it's great that we now have an understanding of the generational trauma held with women, and then especially for me, thinking about being held within Black women. But now that we know this, where do we find solutions? How do we fix this? How do we stop these patterns from repeating themselves? That's the big question. But it was funny that you mentioned, like, the power, like, what is the power of privilege? Because a lot of times women will have to, like we saw in the elections again, I think it was married women voted more for Republican at a time when people thought, oh, well, certain rights of women are being taken away, so maybe women will show up and vote in a way to protect their bodily autonomy or something. But what really happened is more women white women went right. And so it comes up, it's like, what's the benefit of that? Are you voting against yourself? Well, maybe you're voting against a part of yourself, but the privilege of being white is greater than whatever being a woman, because that's not really a privilege. That's the, what do you call that? Something negative. I mean, like.
That's interesting, because I don't know the guy's name from Fox News, but he was going on a rant. I'm sure you've seen the clip where he was talking about, like, men, you got to go out there and marry these women, because married women vote Republican, and single women, you know, are more likely to vote Democrat. And it's, I don't know why people are trying to find a link. Like, being married doesn't automatically make you conservative. And I remember when I first started, and I've heard this before,
you get the safety, you're reaping the benefits of men. Yeah,
but not all married women are doing that. Like, that's a very antiquated way of thinking. I mean, if you are a stay-at-home wife, et cetera, maybe, but the households don't look like the traditional 50s households anymore. So, I
don't know. I don't know.
If you're pulling your own weight, you've got a job, they got a job, everybody, you know, so I think there's more.
But even if the man still has a job, he's probably earning more as well, because they still, I don't know.
That doesn't make it make sense though. But, like, so what do people's marriage look like when they're like, I have to vote the way my husband thinks? Like, what y'all doing? But that's saying,
I don't think that's what I think they're just reaping the benefits. They're not even thinking, like, that's what they think. That's what they want.
Or they went from their daddy to their husband kind of thing. And they're just staying under that protection.
Protecting the family, the legacy. I don't know. Like,
But one of the things, I mean, this is nothing to do with gender or like women's issues or whatever, but I remember when I first started dating my husband, he comes from a Republican family, and I've heard this before, but it was said to me, oh, you're a Democrat, well, you're young, you'll learn, like, when you get older you'll learn. And it's kind of that saying that, you know, everybody's liberal when they're younger. As you get older, you get more conservative, more Republican-ish leaning, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe these women are older. These married women tend to be probably older. They're not young. So maybe these aren't their interests. They don't care about abortion because they're menopausal. They don't have the need for that right.
I was going to say, I was listening to the radio and there are married women getting abortions. So that's
yeah.
Married women.
Well, there's a lot of hypocrisy too. There's a lot of people who are like, I don't think abortion's right, but they getting their abortions. Yeah. And they're just not talking about it.
That shame thing, that fake facade thing. Everybody, let's put a facade and do what we're supposed to do so we're not embarrassed. And maybe that's what that is. That's what they're doing, because
that's something that women in particular have had to do for that protection. You talked about marriage. I mean, there is a protection from being married. Like historically, if you think about it, you couldn't have a credit card, you couldn't own a home, you couldn't buy a car, you couldn't do any of those things because you fell under your husband. So a lot of women had to get married in order to have the life that they desired, to be able to live in a house, to be able to have children, all those types of things. Like it was in the 50s or 60s. I mean, it wasn't until the 70s that you could get like a credit card or something, or buy a home or something ridiculous. So maybe this is part of the generational situation. Is for a long time, survival was to shrink yourself, was to subvert, I don't know, your needs, whatever, to be under your husband or be under a man, period, physically, monetarily, everything under a man.
That's a survival skill.
Yeah. And so I think we're in a unique time though, where that's not required anymore. And I think that maybe that's why you're getting a lot of this incel bullshit and this fighting and this whatever between men and women.
Lady shaming. Let me stop.
Yeah, all of it, because it's like, you supposed to need me. But if you don't, like what are men supposed to do when they are not needed anymore? Literally, women do not need men. Women can procreate.
They go on murder sprees. That's why they kill it.
Like if all the men were wiped out right now, the human race would continue. There are pregnant women right now. We'd be fine. If all the women were to disappear, the race would die. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's almost like a coming into your like, hey, wait a minute. You don't get to just move me around. You need me. You need me. You know what I mean? Like,
I know my worth.
Yeah, right? I know who I am. In the words of Mo, I know who I am. Yeah. And I think women have always known that. It just took some brave women probably to be able to just start saying it. Yeah,
because I feel like I've always seen women as powerful figures, and they run homes and run families in a way. Maybe it wasn't the way a man rules, but it's like the wisdom, the knowledge, the comfort, all those things were leadership. And so I don't know. I feel like but up until the 70s or 80s, it was legal for men to beat women. So
probably still on the books in some places, because you know how they don't look at their laws. Yeah.
And so it's just interesting because now that we're going away from survival skill, like marriage being almost a survival skill for the family and for a woman's livelihood, she couldn't get a divorce, she couldn't do a lot of things, or you had to have a certain socioeconomic level. And I was thinking about that because I was watching this conservative woman's TikTok. I'll send it to you, but she was kind of like, she was playing two characters, one from the 50s and one from today. And she's like, oh, well, you don't have to cook anymore. Yeah, you're just eating junk food. And you don't have to work at home anymore. You can go work and be exhausted. It's just like, like all the negative. Oh, and you'll be home alone with cats and all this stuff. And then
not the cats. Why they always got to be cats?
It's a conservative thing. I've been really going hard on the cats lately. But it was interesting because it's like, I was rocking with it at first. I was like, yeah, man. And I was like, wait a minute, though. She probably didn't have a lot of rights, like allowed to leave. Like she had to do with her. I can't even imagine. I mean, I am kind of submissive though, so I don't know. But I can't imagine like the man bossing me around like that.
Ooh, your nails are fired. Yes.
They old. But I'm like, I can't imagine that. That would be like, I'm not your child. Like I always say, I wish your MF would. I wish your MF would. That's why we have the Lifetime channel. Why does everybody like looking at that kind of stuff? Like, there's some lady that's gone crazy. She tried to be this poly purebred, and it's like, oh,
we're not meant to do that. Not meant to do that. I don't feel. I mean,
what are we meant to do?
Whatever we feel like doing. Like some women can you're okay doing that. Like, I mean, I can speak, and I feel like this is like an issue, one of my issues or whatever, but like I've found myself as a stay-at-home mom somehow. That was not ever my plan, ever. I mean, I know I've joked about it, like, oh, give me an allowance and let me.
I know. I'm like, we used to joke about that. I was like, you manifested.
Why would I go to law school? Why would I do these things if that's all I wanted to do?
To meet the man.
But I mean, I could have done, but that wasn't the intent.
I know.
I have a pretty smart brain, I'd like to think, and I think I'm capable of things. I like making my own money. I like putting on, whatever, and going out into the world and proving myself. And I don't know if that's a codependent thing or whatever, but I feel like damn. Yeah. Well, I mean, you work hard for something. People gonna see what I'm capable of. I'm not just gonna sit here in a corner somewhere being smart. Like, there's contributions that you can make to the world, society, et cetera, whatever. And so I think for me, it is about doing whatever it is you want to do. And that's what it is. If you want to stay home and bake the bread and do the things, which is what I'm currently doing, good. For me, that's not satisfying enough. At some point, it's got to be more. I got to go out and go do something, whatever. And I think, is it
anxiety? Is it social anxiety
that's keeping me from doing that?
Yeah.
I think it's mom guilt. I mean, once the littlest one's in school, what do I have to be at home for? You know what I mean?
You'll see. Then you'll
now, so I'm trying to get him out. So he's going to go to school. He's going to start in January. So I can kind of dip my toes into the whatever's out there. But I think women, if whatever you want to do, isn't that the crux of feminism? It's your choice, right? Whatever you want to do. You want to stay home?
What is, honestly, I don't really know what feminism is.
I don't know. I don't even know that I'd call myself a feminist. I don't even know.
I'm not a feminist. I'm a human.
Just do. Just do.
Exactly.
That's how I feel. Just do. Everybody do, and leave everybody alone. Like, whatever you got to do.
That's the theme.
Like I don't know if that's a humanist. What is it? What would that be? Just do. Just. And you know what? I feel very much like, but do for some kind of, I mean, this sounds weird, some kind of greater purpose. Because I feel like these men are just doing, but it's at an expense.
Selfish. Yeah.
Right? Like, what are you doing and this is part of that divine feminine, the collective. What are we doing to lift everybody up, to be part of this interactive, interdependent thing that we have? I don't know what we're talking about now. But that TikTok, that Tracy Ellis Ross TED Talk got me.
I know. Low key, I was like, oh, wait, somebody would.
I love her. Pick me up. But I mean, have you ever experienced that? I've experienced that before, where maybe they've said, excuse me, but also simultaneously putting their hands on you. Like, I've had someone, oh, excuse me, and kind of move me aside as they say, excuse me, as if that makes it better. I don't like being touched. I don't like being touched.
I've touched someone and they screamed. Like, I didn't mean to. It was just like, we were in a crowded holler. We were in a crowded, like a parade. I don't remember what it was, some festival or something. And
you always at a parade or something.
I was trying to get through. So I was like, how you like people keep cutting. And so I was like, I don't want anybody to cut. So I was like, had my hand on their back and this girl tripped out. She was like, don't touch me. I'm like, damn, you don't know what people.
Yeah, there you go. There's the generational trauma, regular trauma.
You could tell something.
You never know. But that makes sense. So when you're in a crowd, I mean, you have to create your space. You have to do that. But just like, I've been like, in places, and I've had white women do that to me too. Just excuse me, and it's not like a bitch, get out the way, move, moving me like violently or anything. But it's just like, you put your hand. I don't like being touched. I just like, if I don't know you,
I don't know. I don't like being touched.
Especially if you're coming from behind me. I don't like that. Like, if I don't know
I love
you
it when
and
you
you're
touch
behind
me like that.
Oh, a stranger? I'm good. I'm very and I don't know if it's an HR thing or it's a me thing, it's a whatever thing, but just I'm very wary of when I touch someone who I've not had physical interaction with before.
It makes sense. I had very rigid boundaries back, but then when I moved to California, y'all all hugging everybody. Like, I never did that.
And you're from the South. What?
Yeah, we don't touch like that. You might shake hands or something. I was never touchy like that. So it was so weird to me to be hugging people.
I hug people.
And then I went way
you're like, everybody rubbing on everybody.
Rubbing people. Like, I'm just very touchy. I noticed that. I punch people. Like, it's just like, ooh. I probably punch you. It's just like a, what I mean? It's not like, it's like a joke. Heavy-handed.
Like, hey,
And so I don't even think about it, but I've met some people since, and I don't know what trauma they've been through. So it makes me more mindful. And sometimes, like the other day, I accidentally touched my friend on the leg and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Because
She was like,
I don't
hey.
know, because she's got real like, don't touch me. And I'm like, I don't know
Boundaries.
what, yeah, what she's been through. But she was like, oh, she didn't freak out. And I was like, thank God.
But you guys are also comfortable with each other. That changes
Mhm.
too, is the comfort level that you may have. Like if a stranger's like to me, it's if you're a stranger,
I
don't
hate
do that.
that. But
I don't like
yeah,
that.
I don't know. See, I get torn. I think we talked about this in the context of hair, how this white lady came up and rubbed my head, but it felt so good. And I feel like that's how it is too with these. Because sometimes, yeah, I've had guys definitely come up to me and grab me and stuff.
Ooh.
And I'd be mad, but also I'm like, damn, that feels good. This is
We need to work through some of this. There's something that we need to talk through this a little more.
This is a lack of human contact. That's all
That's not
is.
good. That's not good.
I'm like,
because then you're taking contact that's not positive,
wanted, yeah,
and you're assigning like a positive feeling to it, or experiencing a positive feeling from it. So that's kind of
it feels good.
problematic.
It's just the touch. They said a human's supposed to be touched like 75 times a day.
Yeah,
touch 0 times a day. So
I don't know who's doing that. I mean, I guess moms get that.
Yeah, you don't think about it. Like count tomorrow.
But you may get too much of it, and I think they have that. They have it like you're touched out. That's like a phenomenon.
Oh, you mentioned that, I think.
Where their husband wants to get it at the end of the day, and like their kid's been crawling all over them all effing day, and you're like, nobody fucking touch me, leave me alone. Like, could you imagine the opposite though? Like not having your body to yourself ever. And so it's weird, the extremes of like I will take any touch.
I ain't taking any touch.
Well, I mean, but I will take it, somebody moving me out of the way at the post office.
Yeah.
Versus, please do not touch me, husband, even though I want to be touched by you. I cannot.
See, yeah, I can't even comprehend that, because I don't know what that is even like.
Like literally somebody in your nipple, your titty all day. This, all over, just all over.
I feel like at my age, I'd just be making up the time, so it would never add up. I wouldn't have time to get tired of it, because then I'd be dead. I'd be like, all right, you're done.
But that's femininity, womanhood, like just also your bodies, like being able to claim your body as your own when you have children or you have random men moving you aside. Like you don't get to help yourself to my body. Yeah. Unless I say
and so. Plus it's like at this age and stuff, for me, I think more, I think about doulas, I think about au pair, I think about surrogate, like I got options,
But and that's the shit about the patriarchal society, the setup, whatever is, you can have those things now, but there is a judgment attached to it until we can strip that away. Like, God, who was it? It's Katy Perry. There was this article going around about her. She has a baby, and she says, even if I have to work till 11 o'clock, we're doing breakfast at 6 every morning. I'm gonna be there with my baby. And people are like, why are we celebrating this? Because I guess she was getting the shakes. She was so sleep deprived, right? Which is something that happens as a mom, as a parent, you're sleep deprived. And people are like,
good, I'm on track then.
But they were like, we shouldn't be celebrating this. Like we shouldn't, if she can afford, because she doesn't want to get a nanny or whatever. And it's almost weird, because if she got a nanny, they'd be like, this bee doesn't hang out with her kids, she doesn't take care of her babies, but she doesn't.
And why do they care? Raise your own kids.
Exactly. Everybody's up in everybody else's business. But it's like, no matter what you do, there is a value attached to it. Like, oh, you stay at home, okay, well, you don't care about yourself. Oh, you don't stay at home and you work, well, you don't care about your kids. Like, just come on.
Let people
live. How are we supposed to win? How are we supposed to
but why is there, I guess, see, that comes the codependency. Like
the win means feel good. That's what I mean. How are we supposed to feel good in life? Women are always lose. Well, I mean, but when people are always like, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong.
Live for yourself. What's making you happy?
I mean, at some point you have to. That's you're absolutely right. But it's real hard when everybody's trying to shove their opinions in your face.
I mean, I'm disappointed everyone. I'm not married. I don't have any kids.
Who have you disappointed?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like in society,
the traditional,
the traditional. But it's like, these are my own terms. I could have settled for something that I deserve more than, and I could have been
which most women do.
Yeah, I could
historically have done.
Because I was from Texas. Like that's what you do. And it's like sometimes I wonder, like, dang, I could have maybe had the best of both worlds, because I would have had maybe an 18-year-old, 20-year-old now, could have gotten a divorce and be living free. Shoot, living out here traveling. So it's just like, like I watched that show from scratch, and it was really beautiful. We should talk about
I
it.
haven't
It
seen
was
that.
really good.
I need to watch it then, because you keep
Yeah,
talking
I didn't
about
want
it.
to
I'm like,
watch it.
I didn't even know what
Yeah,
it
because
was.
I was really like, didn't like the ads. I was like, who are these fine people? They keep trying to do some black under the like swirl under the Tuscan sun, blah blah blah. And they kept advertising. Then my friends kept messaging me about it, and I was like, okay, let
I
me
gotta watch
watch
it. Scratch.
And so
From scratch or scratch?
yeah, from scratch. It's a Netflix series, and I started watching it, and I was like, whoa, this was not what I expected, and I was actually upset at some parts. It was very realistic. I thought like a realistic story, but there were some parts I was upset, and it's like, why does that triggering me? Like, why is that making me upset? Because of the gender roles that we've
Ooh,
been
we'll do an
taught
episode
to.
on it. I'll watch.
Yeah, so let's talk about it.
Hey. But yeah, I don't know. Bringing it full circle though, women, generational trauma. It's not just a race thing. It can happen. I mean, it happens, period. Any trauma.
Wasn't that Color Purple kind of one of the themes of Color Purple was like generational trauma of women?
Is it? That's gonna. I'd have to watch it again too to break it down. But there's a lot going on in that movie.
A lot.
Yeah.
I actually can't watch it anymore. I tried because I wanted to kind of analyze it.
Too hard.
It's just it's too much. I'm sick of the black trauma.
And you know what? That's another thing. I think I texted about this too. But it's there's a point where you got to like. We know what's going on in the world, and there's a point where you have to protect your peace. You can't keep looking at the same content. That's why I had to stop watching the news for a minute. It was like a year or so where I just stopped watching all cable news, all regular. I didn't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear what people are saying. What I
unfollowed that page.
It's all negative. And you can't keep. It's addicting to watch. Oh, what's going on now? Let me get mad about this. I don't like
watching it. It's like automatic on my thing.
Right, but you do like it's just if it
and
pops
then I'm
up,
sharing it, then it shows more because then I get pissed and I'm sharing it. So then I'm like, you know what? Delete, unfollow. That way it's not on my stuff.
That's one way to kind of maybe take a step towards eliminating that kind of a trauma is to get out from under all of it. Stop watching it and living in it. And that's hard to do, social media, especially when things are curated according to your whatevers. I wonder who's showing us this stuff. Like I wonder like why am I seeing?
Because I met people and they don't see the people I associate with. We keep sending each other the same stuff. It's always like, oh, I saw that. I saw that. Then I'll go to a party and talk, and they're like, I never heard of that before. And I'm like, wow, how do I get in your algo? How?
Yeah, like start sending me stuff, I want to see the cute kittens and all that, whoever those people are. Actually,
I know mine is like people getting beaten and then cute kittens. I
got weird stuff in mine. I don't know. But yeah, generational stuff. I guess as long as we're doing the work, it's good. Yeah. The work. Quotes,
and I think like people like you, like you're doing the work, you're making it where your daughter's going to have a better life and be more confident.
She still got to wear shorts under her dress though, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's just hygiene and everything.
That's tomboy too. We're tomboys like that. But anyways.
All right, girl. Love you. Bye.
I love you too. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Two Girls Shooting the Shit with Em and Mo. Please enjoy this mindful moment. Each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it, possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women.